This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast where we take a look at the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morse, and this week we're previewing Back at Bates, the virtual homecoming and parents' weekend taking place all this week online. Plus, the Department of Athletics named basketball players Meghan Graff and Jeff Spellman the Athletes of the Year. We'll catch up with them and hear from their coaches coming up on the Bates Bobcast. This week, experience the beauty of campus and the power of our community through our virtual 2020 Homecoming and Family Weekend. You can connect with fellow alums and parents and learn more about life at Bates during this historic time with Back at Bates. Here's more on all the exciting events taking place online this week. Happy to have Eric Foushee, the Associate Vice President for Advancement at Bates, with us here on the Bobcast to talk about Back at Bates, which is this week. This weekend's the big days, October 2nd, October 3rd. There's some stuff going on during the week as well, though. So a lot happening this week for our virtual homecoming, virtual parents also weekend getting involved as well. And so there's a lot going on with Back at Bates. Obviously with the pandemic, Eric, everything's changed. So how did this process come together? And at what point did your team realize, hey, we need to go virtual this year and make it Back at Bates as opposed to Back to Bates?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, no, good afternoon to you. So the team really, when the pandemic hit last spring and we were sent off campus, I think our thinking began right then, because I think we were looking ahead to what was coming. And the first pivot obviously was into a very successful virtual reunion weekend last spring. So we built off of that momentum to sort of see where we could, transform Back to Bates weekend. And as the plans really unfolded for the fall, we knew we had to do something, and we wanted to keep sort of the core of, building community, bringing both student, parent, and alumni perspectives to the weekend, make sure people could connect, see some engaging programming, and try to transform that into a virtual moment, knowing that we couldn't bring people back to campus, unfortunately. So, and the name switched a little bit too. So instead of Back to Bates, we, said Back at Bates. What's happening Back at Bates, and let people in.
Excellent. And so obviously it's for parents, it's for alumni, but so what should maybe parents be most excited about seeing? What should alumni be most excited about seeing? Because you have a lot of obviously programming on tap.
So for parents, since, the parents are always accustomed to coming to campus and seeing their son or daughter, we have a couple of great networking opportunities for current parents so that they can just meet other parents for the most part. Not only hear about what's going on campus, but actually meet some of the parents, that an element that they are, is really missing this year for them. And we also have some, really fantastic panel discussions to really, showcase and share perspectives on how the fall is going and how their students and the campus is faring during this time. For alumni, we can see people like Jason Perkins, 97, with Allagash, and Jeff Tulis, 72, professor of government at the University of Texas. They're also giving us a glimpse into the semester. And I think you'll really enjoy those tailgating segments and just a time to catch up with people. We will hear from the president on I think that's Saturday morning. So I would tune into that just to hear the state of the college, both alumni and parents.
Obviously a very interesting time, certainly in the college's history right now and in the country as a whole. So that should definitely be interesting. A big highlight from a sports perspective, because this is a sports podcast, right? Bates Bobcast, we talk sports all the time on here. So from a sports perspective, we're re-airing the Bates Bowdoin football game from last year, night game at Garcelon Field. Eric, what do you personally remember most from that night? Because we had the Cats Carnival before the game, and then we had the win over Bowdoin.
Well, the biggest thing I take away is beating my alma mater, Bowdoin. And so the Bobcats taking down my alma mater, and just the amount of energy and excitement on the field and the student energy around that evening was just tremendous, and a big moment under the lights, and that was just terrific.
I actually know you were a Bowdoin alum, so what's that like been working at Bates?
Don't hold it against me, Aaron. Don't hold it against me.
What's that been like, though? I'm curious, working at Bates for many years after having gone to Bowdoin for college.
Bates is tremendous. It's, the schools have a lot of similarities, but I think, the community and, just the environment at Bates is outstanding, and couldn't be happier. My daughter goes here as well, and so she'll be a junior this year. So it's terrific. Couldn't be more pleased.
Excellent. What would make a successful back at Bates, in your opinion? Like when you're looking back on this after this weekend, evaluating how everything went, what are you kind of looking for in terms of what's going to happen this weekend to have it be a success?
I just hope people tune in for some or all of the weekend. I hope people take the opportunity to try to reconnect, and that sense of community we just mentioned. I think if we could recreate that in some way and bring people together in those moments, I think that would be really successful. There's a lot of great things happening on campus. The campus, is open. All the students are back. Things are going tremendously well with the COVID response. I think it's a vibrant campus, that faculty are engaged, the school is going really well. And I think, I just want people to have that sense of how proud they should be of the college and come back with us.
I know current students are involved with this event as well, right? They're involved in some of the segments for Back at Bates. What should current students be excited about seeing and possibly being involved with this weekend? So
current students, I think, they should take advantage of some of the networking actually through the Friends of Bates Athletic and some of the sports teams, swimming and diving, women's lacrosse, men's lacrosse. They're all having different sessions, a lot of networking, not only for career focus, but just to engage with those alums, hear about what, those various teams or what athletics is meant to them. So I think that's a great opportunity for students to connect in that way. I think, men's lacrosse even has a Life After Bates with Sam Francis, 17, who has a current role with the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think there's just some really interesting moments. We'd love to have students involved here, continue that tradition. If they have a moment to jump online, they might even see one of their parents or whatever. So I think that would be a terrific. And I think there's a concert as well being planned that's open to alumni and students. A Boston band that I know that the students are really hyped up on, and I think it'll be a different, having a sort of a virtual dance and concert online. But I think that'd also be a fun moment for them.
Yeah, Sam Francis, you mentioned him as class of 17, if I recall, and talked to him many times when he was here playing football and men's lacrosse for the Bobcats, and now shining as the lone analytics guy with the Bengals. So he has a lot of responsibility.
I know. It's a very cool job. So
that should be excellent with Sam Francis. And then everyone needs to register, right? That's what I think we're really trying to emphasize right now is if you want to participate in these events, whether you're a student, alum, or parent, you got to go to the website and register, right?
Absolutely. Go on. It's free. There's no cost involved, but please just register so we can track who's attending, and it gives you access to all the events or all the virtual events.
For this event, what was the most fun part of this event coming together? And maybe what was the most challenging part, perhaps?
Well, I think, just the challenging part is just trying to translate what, people love to do in person into a virtual experience, and making those virtual moments enticing enough that people will jump on with us and connect, and recreating that connection, with those sort of networking events or, the parent events where you can meet other parents. Those types of things I think is challenging. And obviously, most of the world and the business world is also we're on Zoom meetings a lot. So I hope you'll just take advantage of one more Zoom meeting or two and join us. But I think it'll be a fantastic week, really. Programming starts as early as today with some things and goes all week. So I hope people, will note that it's not all condensed into a day of your life, and you can space it out and pick and choose. But I hope you'll come to see what's happening back at Bates.
Terrific. And then for Friends of Bates Athletics in general, I know you're very involved with that. We don't have any sports going on right now, unfortunately, but what are some goals from that perspective that you're looking at, that Friends of Bates Athletics is looking at to keep the alumni engaged here as we move forward?
Yeah. So, though, sports aren't, at least the fall sports are not playing games and matches. All the teams are out practicing, trying to train hard as a teams, trying to get better with their individual skills or team skills. I think the coaches have them on some pretty regimented training schedules in terms of getting together in clusters to lift weights, do cardio, and then work on those individual skills. And, we're really trying to make sure that the mental health of our athletes, are as well as the whole campus community, but the athletes specifically, since they can't compete, they're staying focused and, hopefully just they're working individually and as teams to build for the future and come back stronger and better and more unified as teams. And I think that's, I won't speak for Jason Fine, the AD, but I think that's sort of the goal. And sort of for Friends of Bates Athletics, I hope people will, connect with the teams, see what's going on, hear from the students and give their advice on their careers and futures, and help them navigate this challenging time. And at the same time, I hope we continue to support athletics. There's lots going on still. Hopefully winter or spring will happen for those teams. But if not, we want to come out on the other end as stronger Bobcats and I guess take down the polar bears and other places again.
Certainly. Anything else you wanted to mention about the Back at Bates that we haven't gotten to talk about that you want to emphasize?
There's a Be Well program, fitness and wellness on Saturday. There's fitness opportunities. You can do that. There's a fun virtual photo booth that I would encourage everybody to take advantage of. I mean, you can say hello to someone, you can thank someone, you can leave a message on that. So that's a fun and exciting feature. Certainly show off your Bates swag if you have it. The Bates store has Back to Bates care packages. If you want to send your student a care package, it's very reasonably priced. They got some cool swag items through that. And that, again, I would just go back to your point earlier, is it's important to participate in all those virtual events that you need to register on the website. That's bates.edu/backatbates. And we really certainly hope everybody can take advantage and join us.
Excellent. Eric Foushee, Associate Vice President for Advancement. Thank you so much for joining us on the Bobcast and previewing all the excitement we have coming up this week and this weekend in particular for Back at Bates. Thanks again.
All right, go Bobcats.
A reminder to head to bates.edu/backatbates to register for access to all the events. And of course, it's all free. And more excitement this week. The Department of Athletics has announced its major awards for the 2019-2020 academic year. You can find all the award winners on GoBatesBobcats.com, but on the Bobcast, we're chatting with the female and male athletes of the year. Women's basketball's Meghan Graff is the female athlete of the year. She led the NESCAC in scoring with 18.2 points per game and tallied the fourth highest number of points in team history for one season. Her 45 points against Williams last season are a Bates record.
As a team, every year we're just trying to improve as a program, whether that's like shown through wins, scoring, all that. But I think one of our top goals was to try and make playoffs this year. And throughout our season, that's kind of what was driving us to improve, win games. And yeah, we made playoffs this year. I think we didn't perform as well as we did during our playoff game. And that was kind of a bummer, but it was nice to see that from my freshman year to my sophomore year, how much we improved, that allowed us to make playoffs.
What were the most memorable games for you last season? I have a guess, but for your most memorable games, perhaps.
Let's see. I think the first time we played Colby was a really fun game. We had a bunch of overtime games this year. We had overtime, I think, with Middlebury, Williams, and maybe one more, I can't remember. But yeah, both those games were really fun. Definitely one of my better individual performances in the Williams games, which will be fun to look back at. But I think, those overtime games are always fun because I feel like it's like during that overtime, it's always like, all right, who's got the most energy here? And yeah, it was just a fun challenge.
Well, that Colby game you mentioned, that was another overtime. You had that free throw at the end there to give the team the lead. But that was a game where you were down by 4 with just a few seconds left. I mean, but I just actually talked with Coach Montgomery. She said the team never had a doubt in their mind they were going to win that. What do you recall about the final seconds there of regulation in that one?
Yeah, that's, now that you say it, that's got to be one of the best games that I've played in. Well, I think obviously we're down 4 with maybe like 30, like 10. I don't know how much time was left. But once we got them to turn over we got them to get that 5-second violation, we were like, all right, like we have the momentum here. like, we're winning this, even though we were still down 2 with like 10 seconds left. I also think we scored. We got a quick bucket right before that, and then their coach called a timeout. Right then, we were like, oh, like, we have the momentum right now, like, force a turnover and get a quick basket. And, yeah, I don't know. Wow, that game was fun.
Absolutely. And the Williams game has to be kind of bittersweet for you because you set the program record for points in one game, but the team actually ended up losing that particular game. But for you individually, I mean, 45 points, what was clicking there? Everything, I guess.
Well, I feel like I would have taken the win over scoring 45 points any day, just because every win we could get at that chance would put us in playoff position. Definitely bittersweet, though, because it was overtime, and every overtime game, like, that was just a really back and forth game all along. Like, I think there were so many lead changes. I don't really know how to explain how I was feeling that game. I think I was just, like, had the hot hand. Some games people just, like, can't miss, and I guess that was one of them. It was a really fun game to play in, though, just because it was very competitive. I think we were, like, similar style teams. We love to, like, we're very fast-paced, push and transition, have some shooters on the team. So, yeah, that was bittersweet. Definitely some personal accomplishments there, but I would choose a win over them any day. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. What are some of your thoughts maybe on being named the Female Athlete of the Year, what it means to you?
Yeah, I think it's a really nice recognition to get. It's cool. I'm happy with it, I guess. I just feel like I want more, like, team accomplishments. Like, I want to be, like, be a conference champion or be, like, the top defensive team in our conference or something like that. So, like, don't get me wrong, like, this is a great accomplishment, but I think, like, when I'll look back on my 4 years playing at Bates, I will hope to have some type of team accomplishment with that too. So, like I said, like, hopefully a conference championship.
Yeah, and you still got a few more years for that. Right now, obviously, kind of a very weird time. Everyone's discussing this. From a basketball perspective, what are you doing to maintain your game for when you do end up returning to campus as a member of the Bobcast?
Yeah. So I'm taking a year off, and obviously, like, a lot of time I got on my hands right now, but I'm definitely still very much so involved with basketball. I'm actually coaching a team in an AU program. I'm coaching 8th, 9th grade girls team, which is really great experience, I think. It's just fun to be around coaching and as well as keeping up with my knowledge with basketball. And with that, I get a lot of access to a gym, which, I mean, at this point in time, I can't complain because I think gym accessibility is very difficult. So I will be coaching, I will be playing basketball, and I have a few people that I train with, and I'm really hoping to just, like, make the most out of how much time I have right now and commit myself to staying in a rhythm and routine of playing basketball, as well as making some money, saving some money. So yeah, it's an exciting time for sure. I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of things right now, so I'm just trying to make the most of it.
Have you asked Coach Montgomery for any tips on coaching? I mean, is this your first time coaching?
Yeah, definitely. She is my go-to. This is my first time. I've worked a lot of camps and stuff there where I'm coaching kids, but I've never really had my own team. And honestly, it's definitely challenging and it's pushing me, but I love it. Like, I'm really glad I am doing this. And right before my first practice, which was a few weeks ago, I talked to Coach Montgomery to have some advice, give me some drills to use, give me some tips. And yeah, so she will definitely be in my back pocket throughout me figuring out this coaching process.
Yeah, I figure, being a coach will probably help you become a better player, I imagine, right? I mean, how do you see that in terms of seeing it from the other side, sort of, right?
Yeah. It's funny. I was just saying, so I had my first games this weekend and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like every player's dream. Like, I get to complain to the refs as much as I want coaching. It's incredible. But besides that, it's awesome. I think it's keeping me in touch with a lot of fundamentals that it's like when you start doing something for so long, I think you can lose touch with a lot of the basics, and reteaching that to younger kids and teaching them like the consistency with that is definitely just like making me become more aware of the basics and the fundamentals. And also I think there's something special about having to like articulate and coach and teach players in a way for them to understand it. And I think that will just allow me to improve as a player, my knowledge of the game, and like just being a leader and stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely learning. I think I'm teaching and coaching these kids, but I'm learning at the same time along with them. So it's really cool.
Great. Well, any other thoughts on this past season and what you're looking forward to, in the future here?
I'm really excited for the future outlook of our team. Obviously, everything's up in the air right now with what's going to happen this season. But after our 2019 to 2020 season, I saw like a ton of improvement, but also things that we need to improve on and work on as a team. And every year we're just trying to grow. We're just trying to be better, and we're bringing in kids that will only make it easier for us to accomplish our goals and stuff. So every year I just see it as we're going to be better and better and better. And that's just super exciting to me. I hope that even though I won't be playing in it, I hope that they get some type of season for everyone's sake, especially for Julia, our senior. But I don't know. It's so hard to tell right now what's going to happen. Who knows, we might just be preparing for, or I should say they at this point, they might just be preparing for the following year's season, not this upcoming season. So
interesting time for sure. But Meghan Graff, our Female Athlete of the Year, thank you so much for joining us here on the Bobcast. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Head coach Alison Montgomery talks about the impact Graff has had on the program through just 2 seasons. What leadership does she bring to the table? Because she was only a sophomore last year, and seemed like such a strong leader and willing to take over the game when needed down the stretch, right?
Yes, she is a phenomenal leader on the court. She just, what I always say about her is she has an IQ for the game that I really honestly haven't coached a player like her before at any level. She just is always one step ahead. She thinks the game, knows the game. So many times when I'm about to communicate something to her, whether it's a play call or whatever it might be, and she's already there. So just her IQ, she's a really talented, skilled player as well. But really her IQ and her ability to think the game is what makes her great.
Excellent. And then take us back to when you were recruiting her, because she went to South Portland High School here in Maine. South Portland, a basketball powerhouse in Maine, certainly. So how did she first get on your radar, and how did you go about convincing her that Bates was the place to come to play basketball and to study?
Yeah, funny story, Aaron, because it was a long haul. So when I first got this job at Bates, and I was getting ready to leave my former job, she was one of my first phone calls that summer, and she was just a sophomore in high school. So started really, really, really early. And some of that was just, from having some roots in Maine and having some connections to basketball in Maine, just kind of started right away with some good players in Maine to kind of start recruiting, because that process starts so early. And we certainly have some great schools in Maine and in our conference to compete with. So I started those conversations really early, helping her get familiar with Bates, and really followed her career both through her club program and her high school program. And she's, when you recruit Maine kids, you recruit locally, you have even more of an opportunity to see more live games in the high school realm, where otherwise really it's mostly club basketball. So able to do both with her, and just, spent a lot of time having conversations. And I think that, I'm a big believer that building those relationships in recruiting just sets you up great for success once they actually get here and you've developed that rapport and that sort of connection and sort of an understanding of what's expected before they even get here. But with Meghan, it was certainly that groundwork was laid early and often before she got here.
And then last season, two particularly memorable games in my mind. One was a win, one was actually a loss. But the win was the game against Colby, the game against Colby at Alumni Gym, where she tied the game at the buzzer and then hit that huge 3 in overtime. Take us through that game and all the drama with it and how she was so clutch in that one.
That game was so memorable because our team was just in a spot like we needed. I mean, you always need a win, but like we needed some success that day. And coming down the stretch, like I think there was 6 seconds left and we were down 4. And we had the ball on our sideline and we had a timeout, and I always think we're going to win. Like I'm never sort of focused on a bad outcome. You know, even if we're down 20 and there's 5 minutes left, like I'm still focused in the moment. But as we're preparing in that timeout, it's sort of like, geez, like 6 seconds, down 4, to get 2 possessions and a stop out of that seems like, right? Like any person who knows the game is like, oh, geez, this is quite a mountain to climb. But I just remember looking around the team in that timeout and being like, holy crap, like they think we're going to win this. And, you know, we executed the play great. Meg laid it in. Colby advanced the ball. So we had to get a stop and a score with just like 4 seconds left. We got a 5-second call, just like great team defense, didn't allow the entry pass. And then we couldn't advance because we didn't have any timeouts left. So Meghan we didn't have timeout, so we didn't have a chance to talk about it. And Meg's looking at me. And I said, you got to get the ball and go to the hoop. Like, you got to draw a foul. You got to do something. And down the left side of the court and laid one in at the buzzer. And then, you know, hit a big 3 and got an and 1, you know, because then at the end of overtime, it also looked like, you know, we were in a hole again. So just real, like, great team effort. Definitely Meghan led that charge in terms of, like, just not accepting a loss, like literally willing that win. So that was really cool and really memorable.
And then later in the year, the other game I was referencing, she actually broke the program record for points in one game with 45 on 13 of 26 shooting against Williams. Williams somehow ended up actually winning that game, but Meghan's, I mean, that individual performance is one of the greatest in Bates women's basketball history, right?
Incredible. Unconscious. Like, and every time we would sort of get in a little hole, like, ooh, down 8, we couldn't quite get a score. Like, she would just make an incredible shot. And the thing that was so cool about that performance is, you know, the previous record she broke, I think it was like 40 or 42 points that was set before, but this was against a conference opponent.
Yeah.
And one of the best defenders in the league was guarding her. So, you know, and she's always, as our leading scorer, people are always keyed in on defending her and defending her well. So, to get for that feat, like that was especially impressive, and the way she just carried us. I mean, when you have a game when the officials are walking over to you and saying, Meghan is unconscious, like she can't miss right now, you're like, you know, everyone's noticing. So bummed that we couldn't quite pull out that win to celebrate her performance as much as we wanted to. But just classic Meghan. After that win, you know, I said something like that to her and she just said, I don't care about that. Like, I'm just so pissed we didn't win. That there's no chance we're not winning tomorrow. So just, you know, such a competitor and definitely team first in that way.
And then for the women's basketball program, obviously we don't know the stats of winter sports right now. What's been your approach kind of this fall going forward here with the team?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's a tough line to walk, to obviously want to be, supportive of all the sort of just everything that's up in the air and wanting to support athletes the best way we can through that. We've done our best to just really focus on, we're preparing for something. So whether it's like a different kind of season this year, whether it's preparing for next season, we only have one senior on our squad right now. So she's kind of in different shoes, but a phenomenal leader. And so invested, that she's helping us with that mission as well. But I think we're just looking at it like this could be a time where a lot of programs suffer some setbacks or don't get better, or maybe have some challenges with chemistry, with like teams being split up or whatever it might be. this could be a year for setbacks. And our attitude is like, this is a time for us to get a step. So I think we're just trying to look at it like that. Like this, in a lot of ways, is really hard and it stinks. And we're trying not to focus on, are we going to have a season? Are we not? But instead, like, how can we get better and prepare ourselves for what's next, whatever that is, whether it's a season this year or next year. So.
And you do have a number of players who still have a few more years to go, including Meghan, which must be nice to know, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think, it's certainly tough to think about any opportunity lost for any of our players, but yeah, I think it is exciting to think we have a good squad returning and just thinking about trying to build on everything from our culture to our performance.
Great. What are your thoughts on Meghan's, outstanding sophomore year following up a great rookie season as well?
Yeah, the sophomore year is always interesting. It can kind of be a weird tweener year for both athletes and just students in general. So, I think Meghan coming into her sophomore year felt a little of that pressure, sort of like, wow, I just came off a great freshman season. But I think a lot of freshmen can feel like there's not a ton of pressure. As much as Meghan was put in a position to carry our team a lot, even in her freshman year, with her point guard minutes and just a lot of minutes on the court, I think still it's like, oh, you're a freshman and you don't really think about those expectations. I think returning as a sophomore, she was definitely feeling that pressure. And I think, kind of wondering, like, can I, be even better? Now people really know who I am. Now people are preparing for me. And she more than rose to that occasion. I think she's just such a competitor and she's just so in the moment when she's competing, whether it's practice or games. So that really took over, and she just, found a way to get even better and to grow even more as a leader and a player. So exciting to think that she has 2 more years to do that.
Men's basketball's Jeff Spellman is the male athlete of the year. Like Graff, he was a second-team All-NESCAC selection. Spellman played his best in conference play, averaging 17.6 points per game in NESCAC action. Spellman graduates having scored 1,242 points, the 13th most in Bates men's basketball history. Well, our male athlete of the year is Jeff Spellman, who just graduated this past spring, and Jeff is joining us on the phone here to talk about his career at Bates. First of all, Jeff, what does it mean to you to be named the male athlete of the year for what you were able to accomplish your senior season there, and really also your entire career at Bates and how it came together?
It's obviously it's an honor. I can't say it's something I really expected. Kind of my biggest critic, but it goes without saying it's an honor, and really appreciative I was able to be named that.
Certainly, and take us back, because I know John Furbush is going to talk a little bit about this when we talk to him, but when you were being recruited to Bates, it was kind of, you went to a different college for a few weeks or a few days possibly,
yeah.
and then decided it wasn't for you and came to Bates. So how did that process all go down? Take us back then.
Well, how much time you got? No, I'll give you a quick rundown here, but basically I kind of had a crazy recruiting experience and found myself at Stonehill College in Massachusetts, and just realized it wasn't really the best fit for me. I don't know if I was mature enough to be in college at the time, and kind of saw an opportunity at Bates to use basketball to get me into a great academic school, and I just decided to pursue it. I had some friends who had gone to Bates and who are currently at Bates, and I really didn't want to miss that opportunity. So after I left Stonehill, I just kind of, I had an AAU coach who was very familiar with the NESCAC, and he reached out to Coach Furbush, and me and him kind of just got in touch, and the rest is history, I guess.
I understand your official visit was that Trinity game. I did not know this. The Trinity game where the kid on Trinity broke the backboard before the game.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
Well, yeah, that was my first time at Bates. I was, I was a little nervous, so I got up there. I got there early, so I was sitting in alumni like an hour before the game started, before anyone even came out to warm up. So I'm sitting there for an hour. I don't even know where Coach Furbush is. I'm just kind of on my own. My parents aren't even with me. It's just me. And finally, everyone comes out to warm up. And I'm like, all right, here we go. I finally get to see it. Looks like it's a good environment, good atmosphere and whatnot. And I just hear something shatter. I look down the other end, and the backboard just completely blew up. And I had no idea. I've never even seen that. And it's just like my like my first official Bates, and this is what happens. So I'm just sitting there for like another 2 hours trying to figure out what's going on. You can tell Coach Furbush is in an uncomfortable position because I'm just sitting there alone. I don't really know what to do, but that's definitely a memory I won't forget.
For sure. What was it like playing in the alumni gym for 4 seasons?
It was awesome. I didn't really, obviously it was something I never heard of before. I started talking to Coach Furbush and, Bates alums. And, I saw, I think I watched, a live stream maybe before I ever got to Bates, and I couldn't really tell what the environment was like. I just saw this kind of old-looking gym with brick interior, and I guess I was just skeptical. And then after playing there for 4 years, it was definitely the best home court advantage in SCAC. And, if you get 20 people in there, it sounds like there's 20,000 people in there. So it was definitely a great experience, and by far my favorite gym I've ever played in my career. And just everything about it, I love it.
Senior class, really tight group, right, for the men's basketball team. Tell us about that bond that developed.
Yeah, those guys, Thomas Coyne, Nick Gilpin, Cody Greenhalgh, they're my best friends, and it's been tough that, it's just not the same. We actually all talked last night, and, it's just, we miss the days. We're reminiscing on when we got to, we just saw each other every day and got to do what we love, and, times are obviously have changed a bit, but we're still close to this day, so I think that's pretty telling of our relationship. Yeah, I just love those guys.
What are you up to right now? I know you're from Boston originally. You're back in Boston right now.
Yeah. So I guess that's a loaded question, but my plan leaving school was to try to play professionally. I just wasn't sure. I think basketball was such a huge part of my life. I couldn't really envision myself not playing. So I think that's kind of was my maybe default answer to, when people ask what my post-grad plans were. And then obviously amidst the, global pandemic, that was made even more difficult. I know a lot of Americans are struggling to get overseas and play right now and find contracts. But truthfully, Aaron, I haven't really even been pursuing it. I just, the prospect of packing up and moving to another country alone and, leaving everything and everyone behind just doesn't, it doesn't really appeal to me right now. So I've just been kind of, I took some time to kind of figure that out. It wasn't like an immediate decision. And I've just been on the job search. It's kind of difficult right now, given everything that's going on. But who knows, maybe basketball comes back into my life at some point. Maybe I'll take the year and kind of reevaluate going into next summer if maybe basketball's still something I want to pursue in terms of my playing career. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Looking back on your senior year at Bates, there's some memorable games. What were some of the most memorable for you? Maybe not just even senior year, but your entire career. Some ones that you won't forget, 10 years from now.
The two that come to mind are both senior year games. Obviously our win at Middlebury, Nick Gilpin hitting that shot, and also just having an amazing game. I won't ever forget that. Just that whole experience. And then our last game of our career, when we go up to Colby and play in the most exciting environment we've ever played in our 4 years. And, it wasn't the outcome we wanted, but can you ask for really a better game? Like the last game of our career, I won't ever forget that. And the pain doesn't really go away from that loss, but just us being out there in a hostile environment just felt very representative of our whole Bates basketball career, to be honest.
Well, you guys had some battles with Colby and Bowdoin through the years, didn't you?
Yeah, obviously. That's to be expected, right? But there's so many games, but they kind of just, honestly, the things I'll remember most from my time at Bates is just, the friendships and the camaraderie we formed and the brotherhood formed. It's not really, individual performances. Obviously, it's not wins or losses. It's just being out there together, and that's really what I'll remember most.
Great. Well, any other thoughts you wanted to share? Male Athlete of the Year, congratulations again. But anything else you wanted to mention that we haven't gotten to talk about?
Like I said, I'm honored to receive the award, and I hope that the current seniors get to have some sort of season this year. I know it's very confusing. I think when we left, our senior class kind of felt like we got a raw deal, but looking back, it kind of seems like we may be the lucky ones. I don't even know if those guys will get a season this year. But, I just hope our senior class continues to lead like I know they have been and I know they will continue to. You just got to keep making sure that our culture stays where it has been, and we just continue to work hard as a unit. And, I'm still looking forward to watching every minute of Bates basketball in the future.
Head coach John Furbush talks more about Spellman's achievements as a Bobcat.
His development over the course of 4 years was something that I was really impressed with because he came in on day one as such a talented player, had multiple scholarship offers. So I just thought there was a little bit of a ceiling from his, physical standpoint, but each year he got, significantly more talented. He was in better shape, which I think also played a pretty big impact on his leadership is that, he saw the development of the work that he put in over the course of 4 years. And so he was really able to encourage younger guys in their development as well because, he had the results of the work that he put in. So it really helps when your best player is also your hardest worker in practice and in the off season. I just thought his maturity over the course of 4 years was really impressive. And obviously anybody that, has the DNA that Jeff has. I mean, there's a lot of things he did that I can't teach. And so he made me look a lot better, a better coach at times when I really wasn't doing a whole lot besides giving him the basketball.
I'm curious, you mentioned the scholarship offers. What was that recruiting process like with Jeff?
His recruiting was really unique. I saw him first play. He played for an AAU team called the New England Players, and they had just loads of Division I athletes. And I saw him as a sophomore in high school playing against an AAU team from Maine, and he made some kids just look terrible. He was really, really talented. And so I looked at him like, yeah, we're going to keep him in our database, but he's too good. He's going to get so many offers. And I just thought like, it's such a long shot. And so he's just somebody who I just periodically would have kept in touch with and just say, hey, just thinking about you. And then when he got hurt in his junior year of high school, his recruiting kind of fell off a little bit. And, Jeff's kind of an introverted kid. And so I think a lot of times, coaches probably struggled to get much information out of him, but I was just kind of always there, just checking in. And he went to Stonehill initially for about 3 days. And left campus. And then I remember he came up actually for our Trinity home game that year when a Trinity player actually shattered our backboard in warmups.
That's right. I remember that game. Yeah.
And that was Jeff's official visit. And it ended up being this bloodbath of, it was like 50 fouls in the game. It was just a really gross game. And he was so intrigued by it that he, decided to come here. And so to be honest with you, I think I didn't spend a ton of time recruiting him. He just kind of fell in my lap in some ways. I was just that coach that would just check in with him randomly, hey, Division III backups, high academics. And I think it helped too that his father was a college coach for quite a long time. And so I think he knew the value of the education in the league that we play in. So it was a great get, a really great get. And I feel fortunate to have coached him.
Seems like he really bonded with his fellow seniors over the years, Cody, Nick, and Tom. Talk a little about how that relationship kind of developed between him and the other 3 seniors he graduated with.
They have an unbelievable bond, and actually I was just texting them last night because the alumni gym was open for the first time for a few people at a time to shoot hoops in, and so I just once that happened, I just started thinking about, all right, we got the season coming up, and I always make a note to reach out to the seniors who just graduated. And so I just shot him a note, say, hey, thinking about you guys. And the stories and texts that, came in reply from my original text was just reminding me of how close these guys are, even though they're all in different areas of the country now. They're all living different lives. But they had a really special bond that I think anybody who played with them, even the seniors when they were freshmen, and then the freshmen when they were seniors, there's just a 7-year gap of people that know those 4 guys were really tight. And Jeff was instrumental in making sure that Cody came out for basketball as a sophomore. He played football as freshman. He was intending to play both, but he got a concussion in football. So that kind of left him sort of out of the picture for basketball as a first year. And then he played some spring pickup with the guys once he was cleared. And I remember Jeff being like, hey, coach, I don't know if you know much about this kid, Cody, but it'd probably be a good idea if we found a way to get him on the roster. And so then he tried out, and I'm like, yeah, he's going to be on this. He's probably going to play right away. So, but yeah, their bond was really unique. And I think every group I've had, they have an element like that, but theirs is a little bit more special than I've had in years past. So again, just 4 great guys I feel blessed to have coached.
And are there any like games in particular involving Jeff that really stand out that, off the top of your head, kind of?
Yeah, I think the first one that I is really his coming out party was we were at NYU in a tournament his freshman year, and so he rolled his ankle, right before the first game of his first year. So he missed like the first 6 games, and everybody was kind of all excited. Oh, the Spellman kids at Bates, there were a lot of eyes on us, and he didn't play for a while, and so I think some people were like, man, he must be in the doghouse. I thought he was pretty good, and I was like, no, he's just hurt. But he came out against it was Farmingdale State, and I was just like, wow, okay, this was a really great get. He had like 10, 12 points in limited minutes coming back from an injury, but what he did in a short period of time was just like very loud. And then anytime we played in the Boston area, there was something about it. Maybe he had a bigger fan base down there, but I bet at Brandeis, this is where his nickname El Jefe came to fruition from Jerome Darling, who's a class of 2017. Jeff just kind of went bananas in the game, scored 18, 20 points, and they were all in really critical moments. And Jerome just started calling him that in the middle of the game. I don't know why, but it's stuck ever since then. And so those were 2 of the games that really stuck out. But I just think every big moment I had to call play, I always went to Jeff. He was for 4 years somebody that, there were times when I'm like, man, we got a hot hand. I could go to Coyne, I could go to Cody. But I just had so much faith and trust in Jeff that I was giving him the ball in the biggest moments.
It did seem like he had to battle through some injuries at various points in time, maybe play through injuries at times. I mean, did he have to change his game at all, over the 4 years kind of?
Yeah, a little bit. I think, because he's older. He's not a traditional, 22-year-old that graduated from college. He's a little bit older. And so I think, he had a few more miles on his legs than most college athletes did. Early on in his career, I think it was like, you got to prove yourself. So he's going really hard, and he's probably doing a lot more work than necessary. But by the time he was a senior, yeah, he was living in the training room. He was taking advantage of Ben Walker, who's just a phenomenal athletic trainer. And, Jeff won every sprint this year in practice. And we didn't do a ton of just straight out sprints, but he was taking such good care of his body that, that really elevated his game and his longevity for the season. I didn't feel at any point in February that Jeff was worn down. And I think a lot of that had to do with his rest, his nutrition, and just again, going back to maturity, like experience is the best teacher. And I think he learned in his first 3 years that what he was doing maybe wasn't, he wasn't able to perfect what he wanted to perfect on the court while still playing very good. So it all came together his senior year. And I think he didn't really necessarily change his game, but I think he was able to shoot the 3, comfortably pull up at the elbow and get to the rim more consistently, whereas I thought he was a little bit more 3-er to the rim in his first couple of years.
Great. Well, any other thoughts on Jeff being the male athlete of the year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm completely biased, but I think he's very deserving of it. And statistically, I have not coached a player in my 12 years that averaged the numbers he averaged in NESCAC play. He was over 50% from the field, 40% from 3. I don't have the free throw percentage off the top of my head, but, for somebody that drew as much attention as anyone I've ever coached from the opposing team's best defender, I mean, he really thrived statistically in the biggest moments, more so than any other player I've coached. And so, just really proud of all that he did. I know that coming to Bates for him was probably, in his mind, a stretch academically, but I thought he did an incredible job just staying the course and committing to what he signed up for. And just really proud of him for all he accomplished, both on and off the court.
Well, yeah, he's studio art major, right? So he creative side to him as well, right?
Very creative. And I think whatever path he takes in life and really commits to, he's going to have a ton of success, because while he is a pretty quiet guy, when you get to know him, he's actually not that quiet. And I think everything he's going to do he's fully committed to. He's somebody that when he goes in, he's all in. And I think once he finds that passion for himself, he's going to have a ton of success.
Congrats to all the award winners. And once again, we hope everyone registers and checks out all the exciting Back at Bates content available live and on demand this weekend. Catch you next time on the Bates Bobcast.